Okay, so welcome to lesson 4. So in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to cover how to manipulate the list that we made in the last tutorial. All we did was display a list of items from an array here, and we put that array in the as a data variable, and we just used an unordered list, and we used the v-for, and we said for each name in names, and we'll just display the name. Okay, so what we want to do now is, I mean, that's useful, but I think we can do better than that. I think what we should do now is we should find a way to manipulate the list, because if we have a static list, well, what's the difference in just making a static list without using Vue? So this is what we're going to use Vue for here. Okay, so if you remember from one of the previous tutorials, we had an input and we tied it with a V model. Okay, so let's make an input. All right, we don't need a type there because it's if it's no type, the default is text. Okay, so let's tie, well, first we need a variable actually here, so let's go new name. Okay, and we'll make that blank. Alright, okay, save that. Now we've got our input, and so we tie that to this, we tie that new name variable here, remember v dash model. Okay, and we say new name here, and now we've tied that. That's all we have to do to tie that input to that variable. Okay, now what are we going to do here? Okay, so how are we going to get, if we look at this, we've got an input there, but if we type something, nothing happens. Alright, so we need to find a way to get that data into that list. Okay, and what we're going to do to get that is we're going to use a method to do that. The parameters in Vue, what we've got is the element and data. We're going to make a new one in here. So if you go down to the bottom, make sure you're at the end of here, and you're outside of data, and so to be at the same level as element and data, we go methods. Okay, and we're going to do that as an array as well. Okay, because we're going to have a list of methods. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to make a method that we're going to manipulate to add data to that names list. Okay, so first we need to make a method. Okay, so add name. Okay, that seems pretty simple. We add a we go here and we add the function code like this. Okay, and that is how you would add a method into there. So that's the basic skeleton of a method. Okay, a Vue method. Okay, so we've got the function there. So when Vue goes, when we call this method, Vue is going to go, okay, we say add name, Vue is going to go, oh, okay, that's a function here. Alright, so I need to run the code in here. Okay, so this is where we can run our code. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to say this, okay, we haven't seen that before, this dot names, okay, dot push. Alright, and we will do this dot new name. Okay, now there's a bit of new code in here, okay, so don't get confused. I'm going to go and explain it again. So we've got a function called add name, and so when a method called add name, and so when Vue calls that add name method, it will run this function, right? Function and methods are interchangeable, but Vue uses methods, and JavaScript you call it with a function there, so it doesn't get confusing. It's just it differentiates it there. Okay. And so we wanted to access names, but what we've had to do is call this. Now, if you remember here, we called names in here, and we got new name, and we've got name in here, and we didn't need this. Okay, so what happens is in the template here, right? Vue doesn't need this. You don't need this. You just call it here, new name, names, and you can work with it there, right? But if you're working with methods and other things inside here, inside this Vue script here, inside this, to access any of and access a method or a data variable, you have to add this, because it's going to go, this is a Vue instance and it wants this version of names. Okay, so you go, this version of names I want. Okay, so I want to get this version of names, but Vue already knows up here in the template this is the version it is getting, because we've tied that with app. But here it doesn't know. It doesn't know about this from the DOM. It's completely separate. Okay, so Vue goes, I need to know which one you want. Okay, I want this dot names. Okay, not another names. I want this names here. okay, and we're just going to push that. So we push into an array, it just adds it to the end, and the value we want is from new name. Okay, now we need a way to trigger this function. So what we're going to do here is let's just add a button in. Okay, let's just add a simple button, and we're going to do some. We'll say the button will have the text as add name. Okay, that's pretty simple. Alright, so what we need to do here is we need to have a way where if we click the button, this method is run. Okay, now it seems really complicated, but Vue makes it really easy. It's just the same principle as vModel v4. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say v_on, okay, v_on colon, and then we're going to say click. Okay, and we'll put our what function we want to run when on the click event. Okay, so v_on the click event. Okay, we want to run add name, so let's throw it in there like that, and let's see what happens. We might have a working version here. Okay, so let's see what happens. We've got add name, so if I add a test in there, see that's come to the end of the list now, and that's all we've done is added a couple of things, and test 1, 2, 3, like that, and so that's added new ones. But what we want to do now is we want to say, hang on a minute, that text is left there. We probably want to add a different name every time, so let's make it easier on the user, and we'll just add another line in this function and say this dot new name equals, and we'll just make that an empty string. Okay, so next time if we do that, now remember, if we reload this list, we've dynamically added these ones, so they're going to disappear. Alright, so I'm going to reload that, and now those ones disappeared because remember, Vue doesn't hold the state. Okay, so let's add test, and as you see now we're clearing that input box now, so that when I want to add a new name, test 2 or test 3, okay, that'll do, then it's automatically deleted, and it makes it really easy for the user to enter multiple names. Okay, so we can just go like that, it makes it really easy, and that's fine. Okay, so that was what we wanted to do, and what we can even do there is we can take that list, all the data out of those names, and just have an empty one, and no names will show, and when we've got data in there, then Vue will automatically display the data. Okay, so like that. Okay, now one quick point I'll add in here, this is the longhand version of writing this. Okay, now I'll show you the shorthand version, because from here on out I'll use the shorthand version for this one, just because it's really easy, and generally when there's an event like v_on click, so you want the click event, so Vue on the click event, that's this code here. We can shorten that by going @click, and now when there's events like that, Vue goes, oh, that's an @, okay, that's going to be an event. Okay, and so now if we add @click there, we change it to @click, and then test, and then Andy, and it works the same as v_on. Okay, so we'll use this from here on out, just because it's easier. It's easier to go, okay, is an event. Okay, it differentiates it. Okay, so what we want to do now is, now that we've got these add names, and we can add names, but what we'll add one more method in here, just in case we want to clear all the names. Okay, I won't go into removing individual names yet, because that's a bit more complex. Okay, so let's do clear names. Okay, and that's a function, and so we need our brackets and our curly braces to open that up. Okay, so let's go this dot names. Remember, we need this because we want to get this instance of names equals, and we'll just reset it to the start value. Okay, so that was this start value here, an empty list. Add that, and add another button. So let's add another button here. Okay, we'll just copy that. Clear names, and we want this clear names method here. Now remember, this @ is v_on click, like that, and we've just shortened it here. Okay, so don't forget that's the v_on click option event method. Okay. So now we've got that happening. So we've got a clear name and add name button. Okay. So let's write Andy and John and Sarah. Okay. And if we want to clear those names, bang, just click clear names and it's gone. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll end this lesson here because there's been quite a lot to take in. We'll just go over this a bit in the next lesson. And so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you there. And don't forget, as usual, the code is a link to the GitHub where you can get this working version of code in case you had any issues when you were working through it, and you can play around with this code too. Okay, thank you for watching.